What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Stocks with Mike and Tom show. We have some giant news to cover today. The stock market was all over the place, and we have some big news with Elon Musk and Twitter, big news with inflation, and a lot of important things. So make sure to stick around to the end of today's video. We have a lot of great info, and you're not going to want to miss it. But Tom, let's get right into it.
Yeah, Mike, Tesla had a pretty bad day today, actually. It was down 4.83%, and it looks like Twitter actually had a pretty decent day. I know initially Twitter fell this morning as Elon Musk is now not joining the board. This is a pretty big article that came out by CNBC, but he actually had to delete a whole bunch of tweets after his weekend barrage, according to CNBC, and this was not good, but we can see he's also backing off of the board here with Twitter, but this does open the door to a hostile takeover. So, if he was joining Twitter's board, he would be capped at owning 14.9% of the company, but now that he's not joining the board, he can theoretically buy as much of the company as he wants and try to establish control, it says. And the article goes pretty in depth into everything going into it, but in the end, Mike, this is pretty big for Twitter. And as we can see, Twitter's share price kind of liked it today. It ended up 1.69%, even though initially falling off.
Exactly. So, Tom, can we go to like an hourly chart on Twitter really quickly? And we'll be able to see exactly how Twitter stock just exploded to the upside when news came out that Elon Musk is now a significant owner in the company. But as Tom said, Elon is not going to join the board. And this is not as bad as it sounds because just like Tom said, Elon, if he wants to, he can buy the whole company, like he can buy 100% of Twitter. He can buy 50%. He won't be capped at 14.9% anymore. So like this whole situation is getting very interesting, Tom. And who would have thought that we'd be making videos about Elon owning Twitter?
Yeah, I would have never thought this. And it's insane to even talk about. And, there is people also talking about, though, Mike, a possible poison pill with Twitter, which is pretty much where Twitter is going to try to implement a certain strategy to maybe stop a hostile takeover where they pretty much dilute their shares. But as we can see, Investopedia has a pretty nice definition of it, but it's pretty much a strategy used by companies to try and discourage a potential takeover. So we'll have to see what ends up happening, Mike. But you know what? If I was Twitter, I'd be really happy if Elon Musk was trying to join my side. I'll tell you what, these guys could really profit off of this if they do it right.
Exactly. They can profit off of it and they can just make the platform a lot better, because let's go to like a Twitter max weekly chart, Tom. If we're being honest, Twitter hasn't done anything for like the past like 8 years. Like they've been up and down, and it's just like a bunch of consolidation and it's just not really like flourishing.
Yeah, it's not. Like honestly, like whenever Twitter IPO'd, obviously it ran up to like highs of like 74, almost $75. And right after COVID, we got back up there around 80, but you're right. It fell right back off in a major way. And honestly, it dipped down pretty big over the past few months, kind of like what we've been seeing with other stocks like Facebook and stocks like that. They've also dipped off, but you're right. I mean, the stock hasn't really done anything. It's just been in like a huge range here. But I will say if Elon keeps making the company better, I mean, I would definitely expect Twitter to maybe start getting some hype and starting to grow here in the shorter term.
Right, there we go. So Tom, tomorrow is set to be a very important day as the CPI report is set to release, and the White House had a scary warning for us too.
Yeah, they did. So the CPI is coming out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. So right before the market opens, that's going to be a pretty big event. So definitely watch the SPY and the QQQ early in the morning there. But you're right. There was a good article about on CNBC today where the White House said that they expect inflation to be extraordinarily elevated. This is pretty big. Jen Psaki was talking today. She said, we expect the March CPI headline inflation to be extraordinarily elevated due to Putin's price hike. So I know that there's obviously a lot of reasons why the CPI has been going up. She did say specifically due to Putin's price hike, but there's a whole bunch of other reasons behind it. But I will say that the Russia situation, Mike, has not been helping. And as we've seen, the crude oil has been starting to go up quite a bit on like a yearly chart. Obviously it's up. The past couple of weeks, crude oil has actually been dipping down a little bit. We're back below $100 a barrel. But as we know, though, like just core inflation in general has been getting out of hand, like especially used car prices and even like grocery prices overall have been like flying through the roof.
Yeah, very true. Flying through the roof. There we go. But yeah, everything's just been exploding, whether it's used cars, homes, some stocks, food, oil, gold and silver, all that stuff. So it's definitely going to be crazy tomorrow morning. Be ready for that CPI report. Tom, I know we also have a decent week in terms of earnings. What's on the schedule?
Yeah, like we talked about earlier in the week, the biggest thing is going to be these banks that report. So Wednesday, we're going to have some big banks before the market opens. JP Morgan's going to report. Delta Airlines will also be reporting that morning. But Thursday morning before open, we have Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, Citi, Morgan Stanley, Ally Bank, PNC, even Taiwan Semiconductors. So there's a lot of big earnings reports coming up later in the week. I'm sure we'll hit on them more in tomorrow's video, especially ahead of Tuesday because of JP Morgan and Delta there. But, Mike, these airlines actually had a pretty good day today. Like if I go look at Delta, they were up 4%. So who knows? Maybe the earnings will do pretty good here.
Yeah, true that. A lot of the airlines did very well, just like you said, and the bank stocks didn't do too bad. Like, they ran up in the beginning of the day, but, it was just kind of like, I guess they didn't really move too much.
Yeah, they didn't. I mean, it didn't do too much, but I will say they had a good day compared to the overall market. Like if we go look at the SPY here, the banks did very well. So that poor SPY here sold off in the middle of the day in a big way. Unfortunately, like I said earlier in the video, we had Tesla down 4.8%. Microsoft was down 3.9%, Mike. That actually got pretty accelerated towards the end of the day there. And then we have Apple down 2.5%, making new lows at market close. So, yeah, I mean, the big tech stocks were definitely pulling back today, Mike. And it was really good to see those banks holding up. I mean, you're definitely right. Compared to the SPY, it was a pretty good move out of the banks.
Yeah, speaking of the SPY, Tom, what are the most important levels for tomorrow?
Yeah, so today we actually fell below 444, which we talked about a lot in last night's video. That was a big support there. And ever since we fell below it this morning, we started really ripping to the downside. So for tomorrow, it's going to be a little bit harder because we just had this big move to the downside. But the next major support I have posted is right around 438. I think that'll be a pretty decent support level. If we go to like a 180-day 4-hour chart, you can see that 130 or 438 has been a big support in the past. We've had a lot of different movement right around there. So definitely eye up 438. If we do move below that, I have another one right around 436. So definitely keep those ones in mind. If we start rising back up, I would say 444 would be the next major resistance overhead.
All right, there we go. So, Tom, the market's pretty interesting in the sense that, we have some of these big stocks tanking down like Apple, Microsoft, and of course some of the major indices. But at the same time, we have some stocks looking pretty good to the upside like Delta Airlines, DraftKings, and even Roblox.
Yeah, this is pretty big. I mean, I can't believe the way these things are pointing to the upside here. Like DraftKings had a great day, Mike, and the bot had a pretty good play actually, but DraftKings was moving very well, started consolidating in the middle of the day, right around that 1650 support, finally started getting a nice pop up at towards the end of the day. So had some nice movement there. You're definitely right. Like the growth sector didn't do too bad compared to the overall market. One big thing I noticed, Mike, were some of these EV companies like Rivian and Lucid were actually in the green in a pretty big way, and even AMC was green.
There we go. All right, Tom. Well, do you have any favorite setups heading into tomorrow or any patterns you're watching?
Yeah, I mean, there is a few actually. I will say, obviously, we're still watching stocks like Twitter and Tesla and stocks like that. But, some of these growth plays today, Mike, were looking pretty hot. Like I said, DraftKings has a pretty good intraday setup going on. I'm actually pretty confident in this one. I like the way how it's holding this support. And if it does start moving in the morning, who knows? I might start looking at a play on them. I'm also eyeing up Unity and Matterport. I know I talk about these stocks quite a bit, but they've been dipping off over the past couple of weeks in some pretty big ways. And I would have to think, Mike, that eventually here over the next couple of days, we'll start to maybe go back on a slight uptrend. So like looking at the 1-year daily, some of these stocks started getting pretty close back down to those lows. So I do feel like that since we had like 4 or 5 red days, we might start seeing some renewed uptrends here.
All right, there we go. So with that being said, I just want to shout out our member of the day, which is Kamal K. Thank you so much for being a great member of the Stocked Up Discord chat. I know you've been in the Stocked Up Discord for quite some time, so huge shout out to you. Thanks so much for all of your kind words and activity. But Tom, let's get right into these momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we have Beyond to the upside.
Yeah, Beyond is really starting to move. And I would say if Beyond could pass above $44.30 tomorrow. I think it could start to really move early in the morning, but even if it breaks above the higher resistance up around 45, then I think it could move even more. So I know I gave a couple levels here, but 44.30 would be the first one. And then after that, I see 45.
Sounds good. With the next one, we have SPCE also to the upside.
Yeah, SPCE had a pretty big move right around open. If they can break out above like $9 or $9.10, I'll definitely eye up SPCE too.
With the next one, we have Disney to the downside.
Man, Disney's still going down here. Go ahead and make them break below 130 to the downside.
All right, so we are watching Disney for a potential day trade to the downside tomorrow, only if it breaks below the level Tom listed. And we are watching SPCE and BYND for potential day trades to the upside tomorrow, only if they break above the levels Tom listed. But Tom, we definitely have to showcase that bot play from today. Our bot called out the DraftKings $16.50 calls at $69 today. They ran all the way up to $92. That's a 33% pop in just a couple hours. The bot has been on fire lately. It's been doing very, very well, and you won't find it anywhere else. So if you want to check it out, it's going to be that first link in the description and the comments down below. It calls out daily options day trades. We have swing trades available. We have a lot of custom bots that you won't find anywhere else. We have some other order flow bots. We have bonus day trade setups. You can chat with Tom and myself all day long. We have premium selling plays. We have an amazing community. And if you don't like it, you can cancel it anytime. And we have a coupon running. So definitely check out that first link in the description and the comments down below. The bot's been on fire and you won't find it anywhere else. But Tom, do you have any closing thoughts before we end today's video?
Yeah, some of these commodities might be some pretty good hedges over the next couple of days. Like if inflation, like if the CPI data comes out tomorrow and it shows that inflation is going through the roof or something like that, definitely maybe eye up some calls on GLD, maybe SLV. We might even see oil start to move a little bit, but I would think the main things moving might be like gold and silver. So definitely eye these up, and especially maybe VXX too. Like if the overall market starts falling, I do feel like some of these hedge plays might start to be the way to go. And I will say GLD had a pretty good move this morning, Mike. It honestly was up quite a bit, up to 183. If we could have a move back up to there tomorrow, it would definitely make for some good movement.
There we go. So if you liked today's video, make sure to subscribe. We post brand new videos every single day, and let us know what stocks you are watching in the comments down below. Besides that, let's have a great week.